Hello, everybody. Welcome to Managerial Accounting. This is Job Order Costing Part 7. If the under or over applied factory overhead is materially significant. Okay, this tends to be a topic that's oftentimes spoken about in upper division cost accounting. However, I like doing it here because it's fun. So cost of goods sold is cost of goods sold. In the prior example we were looking at, so we adjusted the difference directly to cost of goods sold because the amount was not materially significant, right? So if I look at this example over here, the amount of the factory overhead or the adjustment was 3,000 divided by total cost of goods sold is less than 1%. So it is not materially significant. Most people establish materiality at about being around like 5%. However, what if the amount was larger? Say if the amount was 300 instead of 3, should the entire amount be put into cost of goods sold? And the answer to that is no. The reason is that cost of goods sold is cost of goods sold. Rather, what we're going to go through and do is we're going to look at the accounts that were infected by the applied overhead, mainly work in process, finished goods, and cost of goods sold. So let's look at this over here. If I'm looking at applied overhead, where did this really go to? Well, it started out in WIP, then it traveled through over here to finished goods, then it traveled to cost of goods sold. So if the amount of the under or over applied material was materially significant, meaning that it's a big number, then in that case, because the amount is so large, I'm going to need to do an allocation between the three accounts. So let's just go ahead and do it, right? So assuming that the amount of the under applied factory overhead was 300, in the example above, prepare the journal entry to record the underapplied factory overhead. So first thing I want to do is the amount materially significant. If the amount is 300 divided over here by 917, we've got a problem because the amount is now 32% of cost of goods sold. So because that amount is so large, we need to allocate it amongst the three different categories. Okay, so what were the categories that this went through and got impacted to? Okay, so we're going to have work in process, finished goods, inventory, and cost of goods sold. My cost of goods sold pre-adjustment right over here was 917. My finished goods inventory was 498, and my work in process was 146. So when I look at this over here, because this amount is materially significant, I cannot just take it to cost of goods sold like I did up here. Rather, I'm going to have to share the love. So let's go through and do it. How do we go through and figure this out? Well, the first thing I want to do is that these are the accounts to allocate to. Remember, I do not do anything with raw materials. Why not? Raw materials does not include any kind of applied overhead. Factory payroll does not either, right? So these are the accounts I'm going to allocate to. I'm then going to do a percentage of the total, right? So got Tchaikovsky, if you can just spell today, it's great. Okay, so this is going to be 146 divided by 1,561 over here. So this is 146 divided by 1,561. This is 498 divided by 1,561. This is 917 divided by 1,561. When I add up these three amounts, it needs to equal to 100%. So I'm going to take the percentage of the total, I'm going to multiply that by my adjustment, which is in here. The adjustment is going to be for 300. When I multiply the percentage of the total by the 300, I'm going to get my allocation. Okay, so over here, this is 9.35% times 300, 95, and then 176. So when it comes to going through and doing the journal entry, what is that now going to look like? Well, if factory overhead is under applied, right? So over here, my factory overhead is going to be a credit for 300, right? Because it was under applied. So over here, I'm going to go ahead and debit cost of goods sold. I'm going to debit finished goods inventory, and I'm going to debit work in process. I'm going to do it by my allocation. So this is going to be over here. This is going to be 2806, 9571, and 17623. When I add these three up, I get 300 and 300. So over here, this will be 93024. And this is going to be to adjust for materially, or to adjust for applied, for under applied factory overhead. So this is how I'm going to go through and do my journal entry if the amount is materially significant. So I'm going to be back with another example if it was the opposite case, and I'll see you back here in a moment. Thank you so much for watching these videos here today. Please leave any questions you might have, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day.